The Spiel Canal, yet another gaming channel with no budget for animation or even a catchy tune.
Hello. Time for the new video. And today we are returning to the review of Necromunda skill.
And I think one of your children's just walked in.
Now, after covering all of the general skills in previous videos, we can explore the eclectic world of house-specific skills. So these are skill trees that only specific factions have access to. So I'm going to make 3 videos, each covering a couple of the skill trees, and that way I should be able to get the videos out a bit quicker. So today we will look at muscle skills and bravado skills. Muscle skills are from the House of Chains book, and they can be used by Goliath and Ogryn gangs. Bravado are used by Orlock gangs. So we're not here to fuck spiders, so let's crack on. Muscle! Fists of Steel. Unarmed attacks made by this fighter count as having a strength 2 higher than normal and inflict 2 damage. So it's okay. I guess it makes unarmed attacks suck a bit less. And if you're going up against an opponent with disarm, fine. But for Goliath, I would skip this. They've got plenty of great melee weapons they have access to, and there's no point skilling just in case you get hit by a disarm. Ogryns could have a bit of fun with this, I guess. Especially in a campaign where you could give it to one of the gangers, make them a bit more deadly, especially as they have such limited access for weapons. It's not the worst one to roll, but it's no ace in the hole. Next! Iron Man. This fighter's toughness is not reduced by flesh wounds. However, if this fighter suffers a number of flesh wounds equal to their toughness characteristic, they will go out of action as normal. I like this one. The bonus of the 2 bonehead gangs is their toughness, making them harder to wound. But that gets chipped away with a lucky roll and you're about as tough as an Escher made of wet paper. So this skill negates those lucky rolls. Now you're not immortal, it isn't a game breaking skill, but you're going to be a bastard to finish off. Immovable stance. This one gives you a new action. Be a tank. I don't want to be a tank, I'm a tree. Double action, so you can't move and use with this. The action is called tank. Until the fighter is next activated, they increase their armor save by 2 to a maximum of 2 up, and they cannot be moved from their current location by using skills like hurl or overseer or any weapon traits like knockback or drag, and they can't be pinned. So you can still be seriously injured, you can be killed, AP weapons still work against you. You literally sit someone by an objective and make them a traffic bollard. I mean, it could be good, I guess, for blocking a walkway or something, but if you have a fighter that can take skills, I think you can make them more effective than just being a stubborn toddler in Tesco. Naga! During this fighter's activation, they may attempt to perform a 3rd action after completing their first 2. So you roll a d6, and if it's equal or less than your toughness, then you can perform the action. And if it's greater than the toughness, or you roll a 6, then their activation ends. Now, whether or not you pass that test, at the end of their activation, they are automatically pinned. And you can't use other skills to negate that pin, so you can't use Nerves of Steel or something. Now, this is actually a pretty good skill, especially on an Ogryn, and I've used it. So you have an opponent with a few fighters near each other, give your Ogryn a versatile weapon, so you charge a unit, you smash the fuck out of it, then you consolidate if more range is needed, or you do coup de grace if you don't. You get your extra action, you hit the next fighter, and you don't worry about a reaction attack if they survive it, because they're out of range, because you're a versatile weapon. You can't consolidate into melee. This is why I say have that versatile weapon. Now you could charge into 2 people, take out one, fight the other, but if you're engaging with both at the same time, you're going to start taking that penalty on the to hit rolls. Rules reminder, in melee, multiple opponents can reduce your weapon skill and it buffs theirs. So ideally you want to have them lined up like dominoes. Now, and obviously because it's a test against toughness, you want it on a stronger fighter. Now admittedly, I've only had a handful of games with Ogryns, but this skill was certainly a bonus in those games.
Unleash the beast.
So while active and engaged, the fighter can perform an action called flex. So all fighters, friend or foe, that's in base contact with your Flexi McFlexerson, they have to pass a strength check or they're pushed D3 inches directly away from this fighter, which, you know, if they hit a terrain, they stop, or if they come into contact with somebody else, they stop, or they could be sort of thrown off ledges or something like that. If there's multiple people that are getting pushed, the person who's flexing can control the order, so you could get some interesting effects with it. For comic value, this is a slice of fried gold. Actual usefulness, unfortunately not particularly. If you're surrounded, then it could be handy to deny those assistances and interferences in melee, as we discussed in the previous skill. But if your opponent is high strength, it's more than likely going to foul. If it was a free action, I would be all about it, just for the lols. I'm sure even Terry Crews would promote this, but it's a soft pass from me. Flex!
Walk it off.
So should this fighter perform 2 or more move actions during their activation, they can make a toughness check at the end of their activation, and if they pass, they recover 1 lost wound or discard a single flesh wound. Now this is nice, especially if they're a melee focus fighter and you've been picking up wounds while trying to get them into position, but you do have to perform 2 move actions. So if you're getting pinned, that isn't going to help. So maybe if you're running away to get a breather, or you're pissing off with the objective. I do like things that give you a bit of survivability, but as soon as you start taking points off toughness because of wound rolls, it's going to give diminished returns because of that toughness check. So this is a solid B skill. And that wraps up Muscles. Bravado, Big Brother. While this fighter is standing and active, any friendly fighter with the gang fighter special rule that's within 9 inches and line of sight of this fighter may use this fighter's cool characteristic for nerve tests instead of their own. Sorry, I'm just clearing my throat to let you know that this is a shit skill. A few extra points on cool would be nice as a buff, but losing a skill shot to make a champ or leader have to keep line of sight with your gang fighters at 9 inches to buff their cool if something goes tits up. Maybe things would have gone better if you took a good skill. Bring it on! The fighter gains the ability to make the issue challenge action. So issue challenge is a basic action. You choose an enemy fighter within 12 inches until the end of the round, or until the chosen fighter is attacked by a friendly fighter. Your target has to make a willpower check if they wish to make an attack against anyone other than the person who issued a challenge. And that can be ranged attack or melee attack. Wait, what? So you make it harder for your opponent to shoot anyone but your higher tier unit. The exact type of unit you try to shield with Dross. Did the person who come up with this ever play the game? Skip it. Guilder contacts. A little bit away, a little bit away, a bit of... So this skill, any bounty hunters or hive scum that you hire in your gang, you reduce their hiring fee by d6 times 10 credits to a minimum of 20 credits. So you could get people for 20 credits, that's not too bad. You have to roll separately for each hive scum or bounty hunter that you want to hire. So bounty hunters and hive scum, they can be a godsend in a campaign, but it is a campaign skill for sure, and you're going to want to try and keep your gang strong so that you don't even need to hire scum. Also, it doesn't do you any favours with the brutes that you want, so I'd probably give it a miss. King hit. When making an unarmed attack, this fighter may choose to roll a single attack dice, irrespective of their attack characteristic or any other bonuses. If they choose to do so, the attack gains the knockback, shock, pulverize, and concussion traits. What? Just... why would you even do this? I'm not even gonna go into this in any more detail. If I sound quieter, it's because I'm disheartened by these skills. Shotgun Savant. When armed with a shotgun of any type, this fighter may choose to use the shotgun's short-range accuracy modifier when making shots at long range. In addition, when you roll dice to determine how many hits you get with a shotgun with the scattershot trait, you can roll 2d6 and you choose the highest. Finally, a decent skill, number 5 on this list, and this can be brutal. Every time I play against Orlocks, someone has this skill, and it devastates. It is just super duper bonuses to your weapon, and I always forget that my opponent has it. Ouch. Steady hands. When this fighter is activated, before you declare any of your actions, they can perform a reload action for free. They can perform the same action more than once per activation. In all honesty, this isn't a terrible skill, but there's going to be plenty of games where you won't even need it. And when you do proc it, it's only a roll to reload, not a guaranteed reload. It's not like it gives a weapon plentiful. I would consider this a secondary skill choice, especially if you've got like a grenade launcher on a champ or something. But once you can afford it, a backup weapon is also a good call. I'll go with a solid C+. Good effort, but room for improvement. Okay, even though I said I would just be doing 2 today, let's very quickly have a look at the tech skills, which I did mention in my House of Artifice video. There'll be no need to demonstrate these ones, just running through them quickly will be sufficient. Cold and calculating. Once per round, when making a cool or willpower check, this fighter may make the check against their intelligence characteristic instead. It's appropriate that this should be a number 1, because when you roll a 1 on a dice, it's usually a bad thing, and this skill is bad. The bonus on this is tiny, it's not even worth it, just skip it, it's rubbish. Gadgeteer! If this fighter is in the starting crew, then prior to the first turn of the game, you can modify their weapon trait of any weapon that they have that has the plentiful trait. So you get to remove the plentiful trait and add a different trait in instead. So the traits you can change it for are knockback, pulverize, rending, or shock. Or if you want, if it's a plentiful weapon that also has rapid fire, you can increase the rapid fire by 1. So rapid fire 1 becomes rapid fire 2, etc, etc. I mean, I guess it's okay if you really want, just... Actually, I don't know. The big bonus of having plentiful is that you don't have to do an ammo check when you reload, you just use an action. I'd be reluctant to lose that if I've gone with that as my loadout. And when it comes to having my champs and my leader, then I'm going to be giving them either the really big guns or plasma rifles anyway. So, I mean, it's not horrific, but it's just not that useful in most builds that you would take with Vansar. Mental Mastery. Your fighter can't have the insane condition apply to them, and also, so as long as they're active and not seriously injured or out of action, then they can try to deny a weird power, sort of deny the witch, which does have a range limitation as well. Personally, I've never suffered the insane condition in Necromunda. Deny the witch. I mean, I guess there's more psychers now with the Delac and Outcast books, but again, I mean, it's not terrible for the Deny the Witch aspect of it, but it's not a build I would go with. There's not enough times that you're going to be facing psychers and have your fighters in the right positions to make this worthwhile. Photonic Engineer. So you have a choice with this skill. You can either +1 modifier to the strength characteristic of the las weapon, but then it becomes unstable. Or if you don't do that, you can re-roll failed ammo checks, but it's only for las weapons. Oh, I hate unstable weapons. I mean, the chances of blowing myself up, it's just not something that I want to have to deal with. My friend Rob didn't win a game because his unstable plasma blew up in his face. It was horrific, but hilarious. The ammo reload side of things, I mean, no, I'm not bothering. It's las weapons. Most las weapons have really good reloading with ammo. I mean, I guess a las cannon might be okay. I probably wouldn't bother with it though. With the right build, it's an okay skill, but it is kind of limiting what you can do with that fighter. Las weapons only. I mean, at least Vansar have plenty of las weapons. Radphaged. So Radphaged, if you're hit with a weapon which has gas or toxin traits, then the person shooting you has to roll 2 dice and pick the lower result, so there's a chance it doesn't affect your fighter. In addition, if you're hit with a weapon with Radphage, then there's a chance it regenerates a wound. But when is that ever happening? What? Just put, okay, we can just skip off that second section. Anything in after the in addition, ignore it. As for the toxin and gas trait, gas you can just get a respirator, so you should be fine. Toxin, I mean, yeah, I guess. But also, sorry, there's one final line on this. In any scenario that uses the pitch black rules, your fighter counts as being revealed, so your fighter is glowing from the radiation sickness. So those toxin weapons from Delac, they're usually quite short range. But if you can be seen from the other side of the map because you're glowing like a ghoul in Fallout, then they could probably just shoot you anyway. Doesn't really matter. So it's not worth it. It's just, I mean, especially the I think just calling it Radphage just takes the piss. They know nobody uses those weapons. Why even bother? It's like they're just trying to force it on you. Weaponsmith. So any weapons that you have, this changes the trait for the ammunition. So if they're scarce, they're not scarce anymore, they're just normal. And if they're just normal, if they don't have a trait, then they become plentiful. And if they're plentiful, it has no difference at all. So, I mean, losing scarce, that's nice, I like that. Especially with big weapons that you want your crew pack in. I'm thinking your multi-melters, I'm thinking your plasma cannons, that kind of thing. I'm thinking your really big guns. It's definitely one I would go with. I think it's probably the best skill on this tree. It's nice to see that not every skill on this tree was a dud. Okay, that should be a lot for today. It's school holidays, so I'm hoping that this shorter video, I can finish it off while still having fun bonding times with the familiars. Do familiars go to school? Yes, they do. They also need to be educated. The Four-Armed Emperor has a very comprehensive education program. So next time we'll be doing piety skills for the Corridor Redemptionists and the Palanite skills for the judges. 2000 AD or Robocop, what's your theme for your judges? Anyway, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, share, send me love, send me comprehensive messages. I always love to read them. I don't usually give shout outs, but I wanted to say thank you to Dan Roberts, who left some comments, very comprehensive, really good comments, very thoughtful. I'm really glad that you've been engaged with my videos. If anybody else has anything that they want to ask or tell me or criticise, just put it below, it's fine. If it's a criticism, make sure you also leave your address so I can send some cultists around. Thanks very much. Take care of yourself, and until the next one. Peace.